You think Will Brooks is gonna find a way to lose tonight?
No, man.
Which he is known for, Shaq.
Thing is, he's fighting an old fuck.
Wasn't he fighting an old fuck last fight too?
Yeah.
Oh wait, is this thing on? Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host as always, Daniel Levi, your co-host Shaq. We're gonna be talking UFC Singapore, Cowboy versus Edwards, and Shaq, it's going down Friday at 3 a.m. Basically Saturday morning, and we have to stay up late, but it's always worth staying up late when you can make some money, isn't that right?
Yeah, man, or you can just wake up to get that cake up, like they say, early bird gets the worm, but in this case, it's early bird gets the cash. So, UFC Singapore this weekend, and you already know what time it is.
Yeah, I do know what time it is. It's max bet season. It's been max bet season for the last however many weeks, and it's all been working out, and it's going to continue working out this weekend. Obviously, for everyone interested in that month package, still running that same promotion. Go ahead and get it. You get the next 5 events with that month package. We're talking Singapore all the way to UFC Hamburg. Or you just want to fuck with that 15% off any package, use the promo code ROCKSTAR. And let's do this card from start to finish, Shaq, because first up in the flyweight division, we got Ulka Sasaki, he's minus 280. The comeback on Schnell Lausa is plus 240. Now, last time Sasaki was supposed to fight, he was going to take on Bibulatov, and it got canceled the day of.
Magomed went running. He
but
pushed out.
But Sasaki's been training with Cerrone. You think that's going to make a difference in this game?
I think it is, man. I think Sasaki is one of these guys that, he does have a certain ceiling, which is, top 25, but I think he's had a tough road. I mean, he's seen what the high level is. He's been in there with Formiga. He's been in there, and I thought he showed improvements on the feet before he got tapped out, of course, but he's seen what, Wilson Hayes is like, you know what I'm saying? He's seen what the upper echelon of the 125 division is, and Lausa, he's got a puncher's chance, but he's what we like to refer to as a jobber, you know what I'm saying? His mat skills are lacking in every, sense of the imagination. I mean, you saw that takedown that Shelton took him down with. I mean, that was
ugly.
That was one of the most far out takedown attempts I've ever seen in my entire. When I say he shot it from halfway across the cage, you know what I'm saying? And still got it.
What's the name of his coach? Pete Spratt.
Yeah,
Pete Spratt. My boy Pete Spratt was like, bro, why are you shooting so far out?
Bro, that was from so far out. But anyways, you know what I'm saying? I just think Sasaki has a big advantage on the mat here. I think the length on the feet is going to give Lausa problems, but I think any grappling situation benefits Sasaki here, and I actually think he gets a finish or naked choke. He's dealt with this type of matchup before with the hard hitter. When he fought Willie Whoop-Ass Gates, he had to, stay calm, and I mean, the guy's been in there with Lapilus, high-level guys. And Lausa...
Issa.
You know what I'm saying? Lausa's what we like to refer to as a jobber. So I got Sasaki by finish.
Yeah, look, my boy Lausa will probably smoke everyone on the Filipino regional scene, but when it comes time to stepping up into the big show, it probably ain't going to go his way. He might beat 1 or 2 guys. I don't think Sasaki is one of those guys, but look, Sasaki finds a way to drop the ball a lot. But the thing is, he's gotten more mature with time, because I thought...
dropped the ball against?
you seen his UFC L's? You seen that Issa fight when he was like a minus 500 favorite?
Oh, well, yeah, Leandro Issa. But the thing is, what about our fight with Justin Scoggins? You know what I'm saying?
That's true. He did find a way to win there, right?
He found a way to win there.
What's his UFC record? 3-5?
Hey, but when you're in there with Hayes, when you're in there with fucking Formiga, top 10 guys that would fucking strangle Lausa like that, you know what I'm saying?
Strangle Sasaki like that, too.
Not my boy Wilson, though.
But, look, man, Sasaki, very, very tough guy. Now, he's tougher now than he was when he first came into the UFC, I'll tell you that much. Because when he fought Roland Delorme, I was like, oh, yeah, now I got to bet him against Issa. And that was a terrible choice, because Issa went out there and smoked him. And, obviously the Lapilus fight. But since then, he's been putting in work. He's just a kid. He's really young. So I expect him to make improvements. And we'll see if he comes out here and is able to potentially get a submission over Schnell Lausa, who, Schnell Lausa, he's got some hands, but, he doesn't have the full MMA package. He lost a decision to Eric Shelton.
Grab a leg.
Go dive on that leg. And speaking of diving on legs, we got Naoki Inoue. He's minus 185. The comeback on Matt Schnell is plus 160. Now, a lot of people make comments about Matt Schnell's chin. Naoki Inoue has never won a fight via knockout. There's always a first for everything. Will this be Inoue's first KO win?
Firstly, Inoue is a fraud, but this is a good, case of it's the right idea, but is this the right guy? Is this the right time to go ahead and fade the little jab fraud? But Inoue, I don't think he's a jobber by any means. I think down the line his finished product is, a long rangey striker. And, I think he's going to cut down on that little reversal shit. The thing is, I think he could afford to get away with it when he's fighting, a jobber like Day Thomas. But I can't lie. I mean, he dominated that fight. And Schnell, Schnell, I actually had high hopes for back in the day. But my boy Schnell's chin is my boy Schnell's chin. I mean, look, I think he's a better fighter than Inoue early for sure. I think early the movement, just his tenacity, his power, even his mat game on the mat. His reversals, his triangle attempts. Even on bottom, he's no slouch. You know what I'm saying? So it's a matter. This thing with Schnell is the longer the fight goes, he tends to lose focus. He tends to get a little tired, and then that's when his chin gets caught. And I mean, the Hector Sandoval fight. How can that not be alarming? I mean, I know Hector Sandoval's a stocky, powerful guy, but that ground and pound, it was soft, man, and we can't lie. You know what I'm saying? Just put it this way. Not too many other flyweights would have went out to that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a matter of if Schnell can stay composed and calm, which he did in his last fight against Marco Beltran for 3 rounds. He ate some of those same shots like how he did against Rob Font, like the front kick, and he stayed composed. But Marco Beltran's lost half his fights. You know what I'm saying? This guy's won all his fights. So I'm gonna take the upset. I'm gonna take Schnell. I think Inoue is a fraud. I think I think he's almost like a strawweight in a sense, you know what I'm saying? I think Schnell's got a big power advantage, but it wouldn't shock me to see Inoue catch him in the late rounds, you know what I'm saying? Just because he doesn't have a knockout doesn't mean he can touch that Schnell chin, you know what I'm saying? So, but I think Schnell lands the more effective shots throughout the 3-round process. I think he does get dropped, but I think he stays calm, shows that he is, getting a little more composed in there, so I'm going to take Schnell by split decision on Asian turf.
Yeah, luckily for Schnell, he doesn't have to fight Robbie Font anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now he can actually come out here and fight a cupcake. The question is he going to actually be able to put this cupcake away? Because, I mean, if Schnell had a chin, this would be a max bet, but he doesn't have a chin, so therefore it's not a max bet. But the thing is, there is value at that plus 160. It opened much lower for a reason. It's just about, can you trust this guy? I mean, he can be dominating the whole fight, and a little kiss on the cheek, and he's out cold. You know what I'm saying? So it's very tough to.
Let's put it this way: he's been unconscious 3 out of his 5 total UFC fights, including tough.
Yeah. Well, 3 of the last times he's been inside an octagon.
He went unconscious against Elliott. One unconscious against Font, which is we'll excuse him from that one, and then we really won't. But fucking and then the last one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the thing with Naoki Inoue, he fought a bunch of guys on the Japanese regional scene, and then the one non-Japanese guy he fought was Carl John de Tomas, who's absolutely terrible. So this is actually a step up for Inoue, but he might still be able to pull something off because Schnell. He just can't take a punch anymore. But that said, man, I think Schnell's better everywhere. If he had a chin, it would be a big bet. But he doesn't have a chin, so you can't create factors that don't exist. So I'm gonna go with Schnell for the upset here. And next up in the women's strawweight division, we got Viviane Pereira. She's minus 175. The comeback on Yan Zonan is plus 155 now. Viviane Pereira ain't fighting Tatiana Suarez anymore, but Yan Zonan ain't fighting Kylan Kern anymore. This is actually a very good matchup between 2 strikers. And who you give the edge to, man?
Yeah, Viviane, I'm high on her. I'm high on Yan Zonan as well. Yan Zonan came through for its big against Kylan Kern. We all told you this is your last chance to fade Kylan. And it was the last chance to fade Kylan. And when you got a girl like Yan with that type of power, that tenacity, the side kicks to the head, the straight twos down the middle, you know what I'm saying? I mean, she's a vicious girl. I don't care if she's Chinese or whatever. Viviane, she's the typical Brazilian, Brazilian bruiser, you know what I'm saying? She likes to stay calm, hands up tight, and when she's fighting Valerie Letourneau, who almost died making weight, the day before, I expect you to win those fights. Valerie quit in the UFC cage before. You remember that Joanne Calderwood fight?
Oh, you mean the fight where she brought her dog to the weigh-ins?
I just think the mental state of Valerie at the time was... But props to Viviane for winning in the Jamie Moyle fight. That's a tailor-made matchup. You know what happens when Brazilians fight lower-level wrestlers, unlike Tatiana, you know what I'm saying? Like Jamie Moyle, they bruise them up and they beat their ass. So that's exactly what happened. So I expect her to win those fights. Tatiana... No shame in that at all. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, she's the only girl to go 3 with
Yeah, you know
Tatiana.
what I'm saying? And, if you watch that fight, Viviani was fucking her up, like, in the boxing exchanges. Like, Tatiana's got no hands. It's just Tatiana's mat game's just too strong, And Viviani stayed, conscious for all 3 rounds. She didn't get topped out like Grasso. So I hold Viviani in great regards, but I think every now and then you get a big-time prospect, and I think Yan Xiaonan's that big-time prospect. I just think the striking advantage, I think Viviani's too slow. I think she doesn't move her head. I think the side kick to the head is going to be available, all the straight punches down the middle, and I think she's going to be able to get off to a very good lead in this fight. You know what I'm saying? Don't be shocked when she wobbles or drops her in that first round. And I think she's good enough to stuff the takedowns, even though people say, oh, she got taken down by a 1-6 fighter, Kylan Curran. Kylan Curran's taken down all of her UFC opponents besides 2. And Kylan Curran, although she, does lose a lot. Kylan Curran has good physical skills. She is a skilled fighter. It's just brain-wise. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't get it up here. She's like a Beck Rawling. So I think it's a good, template to see where Yan Xiaonan is in the clinch. She got up both times that her back hit the mat. Both times she got up and went right back to butchering her opponent on the feet. So I'm going to take Yan Xiaonan for the upset.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this one. It's interesting because originally it was supposed to be a different matchup between Yan Xiaonan and Nadia Kassem, and that would have been that might have been our first ever 10-unit play. But unfortunately, the matchup changed, and you just got to roll with the punches. And I still like Yan in this spot, but it's different. It's when we were talking 10-unit season against Nadia, that's different than here against Viviane, who's a very tough competitor. Viviane's 13-1. And I got a lot of respect for Viviane. The thing that a lot of people have been saying in their breakdowns is that, Viviane's going to come out here with some grappling-heavy approach, but it's like, have you watched her fight? She doesn't shoot for takedowns, and the one takedown she did get in the UFC against Valerie, she let her back up because Viviane wants to strike. Viviane's a striker. The 2 fights she's won by submission are off her back. That means that someone took her down in order for her to initiate, the finish with that armbar. So I don't see Yan Xiaonan taking her down. I see Yan Xiaonan fighting her on the feet, giving her the fight she wants. And one of the things we said about Yan Xiaonan in the Kylan Curran breakdown is that Yan's probably going to knock a lot of chicks out because she's got serious power with that right hand. Obviously, the side kicks to the face. And she did drop Kylan Curran, but we know about that Hawaiian chin. Those Hawaiians can take serious punishment. And I'm also aware that Kylan Curran took her down, but Kylan Curran's taken down 5 of her 7 UFC opponents. The thing with Kylan Curran is she doesn't win fights, but she's got good moments in all her fights, except the Felice one, which it is what it is. So that being said, I see Yan and Viviane having a very exciting pocket striking fight, and I see Yan getting the better of those exchanges. So I'm going to go with Yan Xiaonan for the upset. And next up in the welterweight division, we got Jake Matthews. He's minus 500. The comeback on Shinsho Anzai is plus 400. Now, Shaq, I know Jake Matthews went out there and beat Li Jingliang in his last fight. So a lot of people are under the assumption that Jake finally put it together. Now the question is, did he really put it together?
He might have put it together for a couple fights, but trust me, it'll come back out. Jake did. We lost on that fight with him and Li Jingliang. We bet on Li Jingliang, and Jake, ruined our plans. Jake did get a little better. He definitely seems like he grew into his body a little bit. He seems like he's a little more comfortable trading punches. But this scenario kind of reminds me of Sage and Quinones, and then his next fight with Sage and Gowdy. You know what I'm saying? Is because when Shinjo comes out here and cracks him on the chin, is he gonna go to instant wrestling mode?
It's tough to wrestle against Shinjo, right?
You know what I'm saying? So Shinjo's a very good tie-up artist, even though he's old and he's on the tail end of his career. He's got the heart. He likes to move forward.
And his doctor's very good over there in Asia.
His tie-ups are serious. I thought his fight with Luke Juma was a lot closer than the fights indicated. I think the openings are definitely going to be there for Matthews. I think Matthews is definitely, a more powerful wrestler, more powerful puncher, more agile. This thing is, Shinjo's going to put pressure on him. You know what I'm saying? Shinjo moves forward. I mean, you saw his fight with Alberto Mina. I mean, Shinjo.
That was a war.
Shit show really doesn't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be a good fight. I do think Matthews is going to pull it out by, any means, whether it's a finish or a decision. I just think he's too athletically gifted across the board. I think Shinjo's not really a one-punch knockout threat to really put the fear in Jake, with his chin and all, because we do know Jake does not like to get hit. Even though he was calling Li Jingliang on, like they were trading in the pocket, and he was telling Lee, but we know my boy Lee's damage meter, I guess, was getting a little up there. So I'm going to take Matthews.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like if Lee, if he had a better chin, kind of like we were talking about with Schnell, and if he didn't get dropped by every single thing that touched him, he might have actually came out there and won that fight. But it was what it was. With Jake Matthews, look, man, he's definitely the physical specimen in this matchup. He's definitely the younger guy. He's definitely the more athletic guy. He's a minus 500 favorite for a reason. If Shinsho is somehow able to weather the storm and make it a tough fight where Jake has to get back up from bottom and Jake has to actually work, that would be Shinsho's path to victory. So I do understand people taking a shot at plus 400 just to see, is this pussy Jake Matthews going to quit again?
Is he going to resort back to his old ways?
Because, like you said, with Sage Northcutt, that's a perfect example. He comes out there, he's got this impressive performance against Quinones, and then he goes out there. We think, oh, Sage finally put it together. Then he goes out there with Goody, and, they have to totally lie about the fight metric stats and act like Goody only landed 13 strikes when really Goody dropped him 3 times and took him down 11 times. So, they might make up some stats in this fight too. I'm going to go with Jake. They'll find a way to give Jake this victory, but, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, Jake's a big favorite for a reason. Now, next up, we got Keenan Song. He's minus 270. The comeback on Hector Aldana is plus 230. Now, Hector Aldana, he's only had 3 or 4 pro fights, Shaq?
Yeah, Hector Aldana, he's super undeveloped. The thing is, I feel like Hector might have an advantage in the heart department. Hector's a Mexican warrior, even though he's a jobber and, he got tapped out by Enrique Marin, the guy that lost to Sage Northcutt at 55. He got tapped out in the first round. His fight with Alvaro Herrera, who is another jobber, he put it on Alvaro. He beat Alvaro's ass, but, that's sloppy Mexican fight. Those Mexicans are warriors, and they move forward. So, but we've seen Keenan Song quit before on the local scene. You know what I'm saying?
He lost 2 fights in a row before he got that UFC call. They were trying to give Bobby Nash an easy win.
I've seen him wilt to Russians. I've seen
Bobby's chin just can't take it.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's going to be interesting. Song's definitely the better fighter across the board. Like I said, Aldana's super undeveloped. He hasn't fought in like 3 years and some change, you know what I'm saying? So, but the thing is,
how do you still keep his spot on the roster?
Because the Alvaro fight. The Alvaro fight was amazing. Like he just he got his ass beat the first round.
You go blood and guts for the UFC, they'll bring you back.
He shed blood for them on that canvas, so they said, Hector, you'll be back. And he's getting his chance. So, but yeah, I think if Hector can make it, I think there's a possibility where Keenan might be in for a surprise. When you got these young guys that are from like for example, Claudio Puelles and Felipe Silva. We haven't seen Claudio in how long, you know what I'm saying? We don't know what we're going to get. Even though he's still a bum and he's still a jobber, he had a couple new things, you know what I'm saying? So, Song Keenan might be in for a surprise. I think he'll be in for a little surprise. I think Hector's going to, show up a little better, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think Song Keenan will, pull out the victory. But I do think there's going to be a couple hairy moments.
Look, anytime you got a matchup like this with a Mexican warrior coming all the way to Asia. He didn't travel 13 hours.
He's coming to die.
To just come take an L real quick. He's definitely trying to get into a fight, but I think that Keenan Song is probably too experienced for him. And I know we saw Keenan, do a little quit job to that body shot his fight before his UFC debut, but look, man, the guy's way more experienced than Hector. And not only is Hector only got 3 or 4 pro fights, but he's coming off that long-ass layoff. I'm sure he's gotten better, but once you actually, put your feet down inside the UFC's octagon, you feel that canvas again, and you got the jet lag. I just think he's got a lot of factors going against him here, so for that reason, I'm going to pick Keenan Song to get the victory as a favorite here. Now, next up in the UFC featherweight division, we got Shane Young. He's minus 160. The comeback on Rolando D is plus 140. Now, I see a lot of confidence for Shane Young. Are you on board that train, Shaq?
No, I'm not. I think Shane Young, I think he's a tough guy. He likes to move forward, throw a lot of volume with his punches. Always moving forward. He kind of reminds me of like a featherweight version of Brad Scott, always moving forward, always plotting. The thing is, Rolando D knows how to fight well moving backwards. And I think Rolando D's making improvements from his first 2 fights. His first 2 fights, he fought 2, rangy southpaw strikers like Caceres, who, by the way, was coming off a 5-round war with Yair Rodriguez. And I thought, of course, the first round was bad, but I thought D won the second round with an eye closed. Unfortunately, the doctor stopped it, and then the second fight with Cerrone, 10-8, he got off to a bad start. The first 2 fights he definitely got off to slow starts, but the second and third round, I thought he won, and it would have been a draw if he didn't get that point deducted with the low blow. So, I think D is making improvements, and then his fight with Li Ji down there in China, he moved well backwards. He sat back and landed that check left hook, the low kicks, and I think he's a good Muay Thai fighter, moving backwards or forwards. And I think he's got better grappling than Shane Young. If you watch Shane Young on the local scene, Shane Young gets taken down with ease. You know what I'm saying? His grappling takedown defense is definitely lacking, in my opinion. So I think Shane Young's going to move forward. I think he's too slow. I think his shots are soft. I think D's going to be comfortable moving backwards, and I think he's going to run into something. I think D's going to catch him early, and I think D will be able to hold on to the lead and land the more effective shots, land low kicks, calf kicks that really make the crowd go ooh and ah, check left hooks, and I think he lands some more effective shots throughout the 3-round process. Unless he pushes out like his debut, I got Orlando D.
Yeah, Shane Young, you know what he's really good at? Taking damage.
Exactly.
And,
he's good at eating punches.
like, he's a fucking awesome
he's
punching
tough.
bag.
I'll give him that.
His chin's on
He'll
point.
move forward.
He doesn't get tired.
But he's good at eating punches.
But he also doesn't throw shit. And he's got a very low output for a workman. It's kind of interesting because he does have that reputation of being that guy, oh, you gas out against Shane Young and he'll tee off on you, but it's not really like that. It's just kind of like you hit him with everything, he bounces back up and he's still in your face, but he's still losing the entire fight. And with Rolando D, it's jobber versus jobber, but I feel like it's explosive jobber and Rolando D versus workman jobber and Shane Young. And when we talk about workman, we need someone to gas out in that second and third round for the workman to take over. Rolando is the opposite of that. Rolando actually is a slow starter, and he goes on to win the second and third rounds of his UFC fights. So it's going to be interesting. I kind of agree with you that I can see Shane Young running into a lot of strikes here. And real quick, can you address this whole Rolando D retirement thing?
Oh, yeah. So he didn't retire at all. So before his last fight with Luigi, they had actually cut him. And, he was bummed out. He was like, man, I can't believe my UFC career is going to end like this. So 2 weeks before the event in China, they called him saying, you want to fight this dude, Luigi? And he took the fight, and he had to cut mad weight. That's why he missed weight, and he still won 30-27. So it was a great fight. I think Luigi's very underrated, and, I think Rolando's making improvements.
Yeah, I feel you. And Shane Young, it's funny because you look at his physique before that Volkanovski fight, you're like, damn, this motherfucker's ripped. Then you actually watch the fight, and you're like, dude,
he didn't do anything.
He's a punching bag. I know he went the distance with Wayne Guan. I know he went the distance with Volkanovski, but who cares?
Exactly. Fucking Enkamp went 3 rounds with Nordine, but Hot Chocolate got knocked out by Nordine on the first kick. But what happened when those two fought? You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. MMA math does not mean a fucking thing. I'm going to go with Rolando D for the upset. Now, next up in the UFC bantamweight division, we got Felipe Cerrone Arantes. He's minus 115. The comeback on Song Yadong is minus 105. Now, is my boy Felipe going to find a way to fuck this one up too, Shaq?
I think Felipe is the better fighter for sure, across the board. The thing is, I don't think he has the effort. That's why he's a 500 fighter. I made a comparison to say, he's the Courtney Casey of the bantamweight division. This guy's super spotty. He's got all the skills. I know he can stuff the takedowns. It's just that there's no effort. It doesn't have anything to do with him fighting Andre Fili or Goyito. The reason why he lost those fights is because those guys out-hustled him. They wanted it more than him, and they had the initiative to, seal off the top position, and he kept going to his back, and that's plain and simple. The Goyito fight, he had a guy on one knee. You know what I'm saying? All you have to do is take a step back and, kick that low kick, especially for a veteran of Cerrone who's been in the UFC for, how long, which leads me to believe that this guy, maybe just doesn't want it, you know what I'm saying? So I think Song Yadong is a fraud, firstly, but I think Song Yadong has effort. I think Song Yadong has good reversal. I think he can get on top. We know Felipe loves to go to that back. We remember that Jared Sanders fight when he was supposed to smoke Sanders, but what happened? He did pull off the armbar, but
he still finished him in under 1.5.
He laid on his back for the entire fight. This is what he consistently does. He's the Courtney Casey. He could have a fight in his hands and still give it away to you in the late rounds. He had Goyito on one leg. Him and Andre Fili. Andre Fili was also going for stupid submissions. But guess what? When Andre Fili realized there was 1 minute left and, hey, let me get a takedown, guess who went to their back? Cerrone. You know what I'm saying? Guess who stopped doing the stupid submissions? Andre Fili. So I'm going to take Song Yadong. I just think that Cerrone is going to I think he's going to be fucking Song Yadong up. And then I think he's going to go to his back at the end of his rounds just like he does every fight. That's why he's 2-5 when fights go to decision. That's why he's a 5-5 fighter. And that's why we refer to him as a 500 spotty fighter. You don't know what you're going to get. I think he has to finish this fight to win. If he pulls off his armbar or his flying knee, congratulations. But I think as we can see with these 5-5 fighters, these 500 fighters like Cannonier, like Casey, they're starting to fizzle out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go with Song Yadong.
Yeah, the question here for me is, how's my boy Felipe going to let me down again?
Firstly, Song Yadong ain't no fucking 19 years old. Song Yadong's like 25. That's a complete bullshit. And I think even if he was 19, he's very experienced for a 19-year-old. And the guys that he lost to, especially the Russian, I'm not convinced Felipe would beat that Russian either. That Russian was pretty solid, you know what I'm saying? And, I just think Felipe has a big effort problem.
Yeah, when I die, I want Felipe Cerrone to lower me into my grave so he can let me down one final time. You know what I'm saying, Shaq? But, I'm a big fan of Felipe Arantes. I think he's one of the most talented guys in that weight class. It's just that, just like I said, talent. It's not hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard, Shaq.
And we're hearing reports that allegedly sometimes he doesn't like showing up to the gym.
Yeah, but his back's up against the wall for this one, and he's got to drop to 35 for this one again. So I'd assume that he's been training his ass off. Two losses in a row. 2 losses in a row. He definitely needs to get this win. It's just Cerrone is that kind of guy. Damn, it's raining really hard over here. Cerrone is that guy that'll dominate 4 minutes of a round, and he's got it in the bag. And then he'll go for a flying knee and get taken down and lose the rest of the round and lose the fight. So it's like, man, how's he going to find a way to fuck this one up too? Because he's way better than Song Yadong everywhere. It's just somewhere along the way he's probably going to find a way to fuck it up. But, I'm going to go with my boy Felipe. I think that, look, Song Yadong is good. I think he's got a bright future. I agree he's not 19. He's probably more like 25. And he actually looked way bigger than Felipe when they faced off. So I'm kind of like, oh, man, maybe Song's going to whoop his ass. But, I pick Felipe every fight, right? So I'm going to continue that trend, and we'll see what the hell happens, right, Shaq? And next up in the bantamweight division as well. I thought it was featherweight, but I'm wrong. We got Peter Yan. He's minus 470 to come back on Teruto Ishihara's plus 375. Now, I know my boy Peter Yan has only losses to Magomedov. So I never heard of Magomedov, but between you and me, we know exactly how good Magomed. If his name's Magomedov, I know exactly how good he is. I know exactly what kind of game he brings to the table.
Some of those Russians are fraud, like my boy Ankalaev. You know what I'm saying? So
we don't got to bring up Ankalaev,
but like Sultan Ali.
Yeah, Sultan's tough, bro. But you think look. This is one thing I got to say about Peter Yan. Even though he's inexperienced, at least the experience he has had, it's high level, and it's been on a good stage. ACB is a great regional scene to get your feet wet because, they don't do favors for anyone in ACB. You had to fight Magomedov. So, you know what I'm saying? He's already been in there with some tough dudes. Now he's in there with Teru. Teru couldn't even beat Gray Maynard in 2017. So, what's your opinion on this fight, Shaq?
Yeah, man. I thought Teru actually made improvements in this fight with Teco Quinones. I thought Teco took that fight in the last 2 minutes. But we already know the type of point fighting that my boy Jose has. So, I think Teru's making improvements. But like you said, the guy's he's a fraud. I think he's gonna come out and make things very interesting in the first round. We know he likes to come. He dropped Teco in the first round. He dropped Orlando D in the first round.
He's got great pull counters.
Yeah, he can slip and rip early. You know what I'm saying? Like the kid can strike early. The thing is, what happens when you survive that? Quit. You know what I'm saying? Every time. So he quit against Orlando D. Teco took that fight from him. Gray Maynard, you know what I'm saying? The kid is not mentally tough, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the kid's just not mentally tough. If you push and you lean on Teru, he'll wilt every single time. Pugness back in the day, I mean, this is just facts. So, I think Teru's going to get
Sasaki back in the day?
Yeah, I think Teru's going to get off to a good start, but I think Peter Yan's going to break him slowly.
Tanaka back in the day?
So I think Peter Yan's going to break him slowly. I think he might lose the first round possibly, but probably not. And then I think Teru will break and, will lay on his back, and Peter will win a decision.
He's got to look out for those pullback left counters because Teru hits very hard with that left hand. But I think if Peter Yan avoids that early storm, I think he can come back and win the decision, potentially finish Teru late, but most likely win the decision. So I'm going to go with the big favorite, Peter Yan here. And next up in the UFC welterweight division, we got Li Jingliang. He's minus 335. The comeback on Daichi Abe is plus 275. Now, I understand why people took the shot on Abe because you got two strikers in there. Lee, his chin ain't what it used to be. I'll tell you that right now. That Jake Matthews fight was very alarming. But that being said, there's a massive experience difference here. Daichi Abe, he's had less than 10 pro fights.
He said less than 8 pro fights.
He's had less than 8 pro fights. He's taking on a guy that's had more than 8 UFC fights. But a fight's still a fight. They're still 4-ounce gloves, and my boy Daichi Abe has been putting in work with Dwayne Bang Ludwig, so who you got?
Yeah, that's a good factor. Lee, his damage meter was definitely getting up there. But this fight kind of reminds me of like Luan Chagas for Sair, even though both of those guys were coming off wins when they fought. I feel like Daichi Abe could have probably got, a lesser opponent, but they're feeding him to a guy that was on a run coming off a loss. I think Daichi Abe's got nothing to lose in this spot, so I agree with everyone that took the shot. I think it's a 100% dog or pass. You're going to definitely find out how Lee's chin's holding up. He's been dropped by Bobby Nash. He got wobbled by Camacho. Keitaro Nakamura, I mean, he gets dropped a lot. The thing is, he's resilient, and he comes back, and his recovery time is, second to none. So I do expect Daichi to wobble him at some point, but I think Lee will lose that first round, but then come back to but Lee, I think Lee will, come back to win the next 2 rounds. Kind of similar to, Daichi's fight against Luke Jumo. That was just a young mistake. That happens to a lot of young fighters. Those things have to happen to them, for them to get better. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if Daichi came out and pulled off the upset. Actually, I'm going to take Daichi for the upset. I'm going to change my pick. I think Daichi is going to catch him at some point. I think that work with Dwayne Bang's going to pay off, even though my boy Dwayne Bang's probably going to get half his purse. But
and some peanut butter.
and some peanut butter. But, I think that decision's going to pay off. I think he can catch him early with a slip and rip type thing. We know Lee is very open to that left hook. He runs into a lot of shots. And, when your damage meter gets up there, man, your other skills start to decline as well. So we don't know how Daichi's going to, do in the clinch and the wrestling, but I think on the feet, if they stand in front of each other early, Daichi's got a very good shot at plus 275.
I think Daichi's got a lot of potential, man. I mean, his UFC debut, he went in there against Hyung Yu Lim, beat him by decision with a massive experience deficit. And then he goes out there with Luke Jumo. He got off to a great start, but he had to take his first L. He had to learn that you can't throw everything you have in that first round. And if you can't put the guy away, you got to have a plan B. And he just wasn't ready at the time. But now he's taking on Li Jingliang. And here's what I got to say about this. There is that chance that he gets him out early. I mean, you remember Nico Price versus Juban. That's kind of like one of those scenarios. But if he doesn't get him out early, I see Li Jingliang breaking the kid. I see Li Jingliang putting it on him hard. And don't sleep on Lee's striking offensively. Obviously, defensively, he's very flawed. But offensively, dude's got power in his hands, and he's got a very well-rounded game. He's super experienced. He's already been in there with some very, very tough guys inside the octagon. So this is just another day in the office for Li Jingliang. It's just about don't get knocked out early. As long as he avoids that early flash knockout, he wins this fight. So I'm going to go with Li Jingliang as the favorite here. Next up in the women's flyweight division, we got Jessica Rose Clark. She's minus 130. The comeback on Jessica I is plus 110. Shaq, who you got?
Oh, my girl Jessica I. I think Jessica I is still a fraud. You know what I'm saying? She's still a loser. You know what I'm saying? Of course she thinks, 125 is the answer to things. And, it was in January, but I think it's going to get back to reality here. I think Rose Clark is getting, better fight to fight. Rose Clark has that power belly, the big strength advantage in my opinion. Jessica had some nice takedowns against Kalindra, but guys, Kalindra got finished in less than 2 minutes, in her debut. I think, fading Jessica long term always pays out. I think if we're being honest here, guys, I thought she lost to Kaufman. The Leslie Smith fight, we'll give her that one. So 1-7.
If Leslie's ear didn't explode, Leslie would have came back and won that fight.
Honestly, if you guys go back and watch that fight, it ain't as impressive. You know what I'm saying? It's some really sloppy slipping and ripping. So, I think Rose Clark has better boxing, to be honest. Even though I's a striker, you know what I'm saying? Allegedly a striker when she gets outstruck by Sarah McMahon, Betchko Hare, and pretty much everyone she fights in her hometown, you know what I'm saying? So I think it gets back to reality here. I think Rose Clark is in her head. I think Rose Clark gets the victory. I think she's on the mat, She did do a couple, questionable things against Paige, but the thing is she was attacking from bottom, and you saw what she did to Paige's arm.
30-27 there, so.
You know what I'm saying? You saw what she did to Paige's arm, and Paige is unpredictable, even though she's, a tiny little
Paige has got way more heart than Jessica.
Exactly. Paige will never quit. That's one thing I say.
Jessica ain't willing to die.
Exactly. Jessica ain't willing to put that chin, as my boy T Wood says, put your chin on the treadmill. So, I think Jessica is super chinny. I think, I thought she was able to bail herself out against Kalindra with those takedowns. And even when she got the takedown in the third round, when it was 1-1, she let Kalindra back up. She tried to give Kalindra another chance to come back and win the fight. But luckily, Kalindra got finished by Aguilar. Kalindra got finished by the Italian. So, I'm going to go with Rose Clark here by decision 30-27 across the board.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jessica Ai's UFC record is 2-6, but between you and me, it's really 0-8. So, and the thing with the Kalindra fight is, Kalindra is just a fool. I mean, Kalindra rocked her with a head kick, and instead of landing the 2 shots that are going to finish the fight and seal the deal, she decides to go for a leg lock like my boy Felipe Cerrone Arantes. So it was kind of like, wow, you really just did that, didn't you? I really think that if Jessica Rose Clark, the Rock Jessica, I don't think she's gonna drop back for a heel hook. She's gonna get on top of her and pound her out. I think this whole Jessica is a new fighter at 25 bullshit. I think that myth is about to come to an abrupt halt. And I got Jessica Rose Clark. I think she's bigger. I think she's stronger. But more importantly, I think she wants it more. I think Jessica is a complete fraud. And I got Jessica Rose Clark here at almost pick 'em odds. Now next up, the co-main event of the evening. Tyson Pedro, he's -120. The comeback on Vince St. Preux is +100. Now for me, Shaq, it's a super tough fight to call. I'm an OSP fan. I love my boy Vince. And
by the way, my boys out there don't know. My boy Dan is a diehard Cerrone and OSP fan. Yeah. For as long as I've known him, he will make an excuse for those two guys. I mean,
but luckily I don't let it mess with my bankroll, right? But yeah, I'm a hardcore OSP fan for some reason. And I also want him to lower me in my grave with Felipe when I die, so he can let me down one last time. But look, it's just, is OSP going to finally put it together for the 100th, millionth time, Shaq? Like, should I give him another chance here?
Look, he's like Cerrone. He's spotty. You don't know what you're going to get. He might smoke the guy right away, or he might do his typical bullshit.
He might Von Fleet choke the guy.
That's the thing with these guys. You really don't know. That's why, I generally just like to stay out, because Cerrone and him are kind of similar, man. They got all this talent, but why does the talent keep getting wasted? Why do they keep choking in these big fights and making the same mistakes? I thought OSP made a dumb mistake when he fought Latifi. So Latifi, if you guys watch that fight, if you guys really watch closely, they come out and Latifi comes out southpaw. OSP's a southpaw, so he switches to orthodox. And they just keep switching back and forth until they, stay on, until Latifi commits to southpaw and OSP commits to orthodox. And OSP can't box from orthodox. So, if you bet OSP there, you weren't preparing for orthodox OSP. You were expecting southpaw OSP. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You don't know what you're going to get out of this guy. You know what I'm saying? So, the spotty behavior, I'm sure it will continue. You know what I'm saying? I feel like these guys are starting to fizzle out. I think Tyson Pedro is still a fraud. I know I talked a lot of shit about him before his fight with Safarov. So, I think that's a more favorable matchup. But I think OSP can definitely crack him. I think whenever Tyson moves backwards, like how we saw in that Roundtree fight, how he got caught right away. I think something similar could happen here if OSP, commits to moving forward. But the thing is, I don't know what OSP is going to do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to just take Tyson Pedro here. I think he's got the higher upside in this spot. I think his fight with Latifi showed me, that with a guy with 5 pro fights at the time, or 5 or 6 pro fights at the time, to win a round against Latifi and, not wilt to the takedown attempts. I mean, he kept trying to fight him throughout the whole time. So, it lets me know that the kid's at least got heart and that he stays composed throughout a 3-round process. So I'm going to take Tyson Pedro here. I think OSP is going to start to fizzle out, but I wouldn't be shocked if OSP, knocked him out stiff. OSP shocks a lot of people. We don't know what we're going to get. You know what I'm saying? It might be a first-round Von Flute choke. So, I'm going to take Tyson.
Look, my fatal flaw is that I'll pick Vince every single fight unless he's fighting John Jones. So I'm going to pick him here as well. I mean, I've been saying for a long time Tyson Pedro's a fraud. He's had some very favorable matchups where he's been able to front run, but I don't think he's like his training partner, Tai Tuivasa, who I actually think is a legit prospect. I just think Tyson Pedro, when you're fighting Khalil Roundtree and Paul Craig and, these guys, okay, you're able to get these first-round finishes, but we saw what happened the first time he fought a top 10 guy, and now he's fighting another top 10 guy, and I think Vince, he's going to be southpaw this one. I don't think Tyson Pedro is as experienced as a guy like Latifi to, go out there.
Yeah, you're right about that. OSB's seen a whole fucking different...
He's gone 5 with John Jones.
Yeah. He's seen a whole fucking different level of the sport.
So, I see OSB stuffing the takedowns, getting the better on the feet, and knocking out Tyson Pedro. So we'll see what happens. Main event of the evening. Leon Rocky Edwards. He's minus 200. The comeback on Donald Cowboy Cerrone is plus 170. Now, Shaq, my boy Cerrone lost 3 in a row before that Medeiros fight. And Leon barely loses any fights. He's a consummate winner. But when guys beat Cowboy,
you got to be top 5 to beat Cowboy.
They typically put him away early. Leon ain't put shit away early besides Seth Brzezinski.
Don't get me wrong. I'm super high on Leon. Leon's a bad motherfucker. The thing is, firstly, I am picking Leon to win. There's 2 sides I'm looking at. Firstly, Leon's been wrestling a lot. He's turned into a English D1 wrestler. You know what I'm saying? And the fight that worries me is the Barberena fight because when you try to fight a guy with good tie-up defense like Cerrone, I mean, guys, I know Cerrone's old, but Cerrone's doesn't have too many holes in his game. Like I said, you got to be top 5 to beat him. I think the Jorge fight. Jorge was top 5 at the time, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't think Leon's going to be able to bail himself out if things get hairy on the feet. You know what I'm saying? If things get hairy on the feet, I don't think Leon's going to be able to bail out and, tie him up and just muscle him down to the ground. Cerrone's wrestling is, world class. His MMA wrestling is world class, in my opinion. It's a guy that took down RDA. He pretty much double legs pretty much everyone he fights. He took down Till as well. So, I think... I don't think Cerrone's going to take him down by any means. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be shocked, but I think... anytime Cerrone has beef like this with his opponents, he gets knocked out in the first round. When he fought Anthony Pettis and they had that beef, he got, floored. When he fought RDA the second time and they had that beef, he got floored right away. When he fought Jorge, he got floored right away. You know what I'm saying? Generally, when him and his opponent are going back and forth with the shit talking, things don't go his way. But, I'm not sure if Leon's going to, at minus 200, that Leon's going to be able to bail himself out with the wrestling. If he just smokes him with the body kick right away. The thing is, Leon, sometimes he's a little hesitant to box. I know he drops about it, but Cerrone's on a completely different level. I thought Cerrone personally beat Robbie Lawler, in my opinion. I think Cerrone's world class. Minus 200, I honestly think it's a little high, you know what I'm saying? But I think Leon will pull it out ultimately. But minus 200, I'm not so sure about with the skill level of Cerrone, even with his age getting up there. The thing is, those skills don't get away. And like I said, Leon just throwing him, even when he has guys hurt like Vicente, he's throwing himself right back into the wrestling, you know what I'm saying? But we know Vicente doesn't like to tie up. We know Barberena's not athletic, you know what I'm saying? Those are, more favorable matches for Leon. I don't know if this one is. So I'll take Leon just because anytime Cerrone has these type of beefs, he gets smoked. But minus 200, I ain't so sure about that.
It's going to be an interesting fight. I'm very familiar with Leon Edwards. I bet him in his UFC debut against Claudio. I bet him in that second fight against Seth Brzezinski. I bet him in that third fight against the Polish guy. What's his name? Pavel Palak. Yeah, so I'm very familiar with Leon Edwards, and it's interesting the way that he's developed his style because it's evolved a lot. He used to be this surgical striker when he came into the UFC. Now he's like a fucking British D1 wrestler, man. Like he's,
Claudio Silva rocked him?
Claudio Silva beat Nordine, Leon, and Brad Scott.
Cerrone beat Story.
Cerrone's beat some real fucking guys. Benson. Alex Cowboy. Benson. Man. Yeah, he's beat some motherfuckers, hasn't he? Jesus Christ, right? So, both these guys have beaten some dudes. It's like, Leon, can we get back to our striking in this fight, man? If we hurt him on the feet, can we not shoot for a takedown? Because lately, man, Leon is so committed to, when he hurts someone, he still backs him up against the fence and he immediately shoots for these takedowns, and it's like, that's working. You're winning every single fight you're in. His last fight, by the way, he dominated a Dean Lister black belt, got out of that armbar, whooped his ass, finished him in the third round. So Leon's been making massive improvements. He's just a kid. We know Southpaws historically, for the most part, except my boy Rick's story, but Southpaws historically give Cowboy fits. It's just, we need Leon, if you're betting on him in the spot, you need him to stick to that game plan, and after you hurt him standing, don't just start diving for takedowns. You got to keep hurting him, because if you dive for a takedown against Cerrone's very comfortable off his back, and he's very opportunistic too. I mean, you see him attacking for. You remember when Miles Jury took him down, then immediately he attacked with that omoplata, then took his back. Like, Cerrone's a very crafty guy. Cerrone's not a guy you want to let off the hook. Cerrone's a guy that when you hurt him, you have to finish him right then and there. So if we see that out of Leon, I think he can obviously put Cerrone out in the first round. The issue I have with such a wide line is that if Leon hurts him early but does not put him out, Cerrone is the kind of guy that gets better as fights go on. And Leon, I don't want to say that. I don't want to criticize his cardio, but here's the deal. He puts so much effort into those takedowns that it doesn't matter how good your cardio is. You are going to tire out a little bit. You saw him get dropped by Brian Barberena. Granted, he did come back and win that third round, so it just shows the kind of heart that Leon has. And he's a true winner. I mean, he's just a kid, too. He's a 26, and he's got a fucking serious UFC record, man.
He's a sensei. He beat
Tumenov, Barberena, like Peter Sabota. Like, the dude's serious. So I'm going to go with Leon here, but he has to put him away early, in my opinion. The longer it goes, I think that he gasses with that wrestling style. But I'd like to see him go back to his striking roots in this matchup. Blast that body kick. Land big straight lefts. Be surgical in there. Because the old Leon Edwards, the striking guy, not the D1 British guy, man, I think he needs to go back to his roots in that one. But if he's able to wrestle Cowboy, that'd be very impressive. I'd be very impressed with that.
Cowboy, if he just smothers him, wow. You know what I'm saying? Props to Leon.
Yeah. So it's going to be very intriguing. I love that it's a 5-round fight. It might not even go past the first, but I love that it's a 5-round fight, because that's really going to let us know exactly where Leon stands. I'll pick him to get the win here, but definitely will be paying very, very close attention. Now, Shaq, before we hit up Kyle Marley for the Big Marley Minute, just got to remind them, UFC Singapore, as they know, it's going down this Saturday morning. Get that month package. Get the next 5 UFC events included in that month package. Get 15% off any package. Use the promo code ROCKSTAR. And MaxBet season is in full effect, my man.
Yes, sir, and this is the best time to sign up, man. Not only do we got UFC Singapore MaxBet season going down this weekend, and you guys already know the results of MaxBet season, but we got International Fight Week coming up after that. And you know what's after that, Dan?
Boise.
UFC fucking Boise. Boise's the biggest night of the year.
They don't even understand what's going on in Boise, son.
Just put it this way, everyone's fighting in Boise, you know what I'm saying? So it's the best time to sign up, consistent money-making opportunities, and we're the guys that you need to call to make your bankroll great again. Facts.
Absolutely, and just go look at my record. This is a serious sample size. You know, I'm not one of these guys that has under 50 bets and
we were looking at some records the other day, man. I mean,
the records are more padded than.
But it's all good, man. Even if you're a small bettor, we're taking small bettors up from the ground up. We're telling them exactly how much to bet each fight. We're personally consulting them and answering every single last one of their questions. So we're the guys that you need to call. Go ahead and send us an email at bestfightpicks@gmail.com, and we'll get you squared away.
And that's for the small bettors. For the big bettors, they don't even ask me questions. They get the word, and then they fucking lay down their money, and then they're very happy with the results. So go on Bet MMA Tips. Check out my track record, Best Fight Picks. Look at that 3.5-year sample size, and come up with your own conclusions, because the numbers speak for themselves. Now let's hit up Kyle Marley for the Big Marley Minute. And joining us now on the Big Marley Minute is Big Marley himself. Kyle, how's it going?
Great, man. How are you?
Doing excellent. Very excited about this 4:30 a.m. UFC Singapore card, and I know I got the biggest Donald Cerrone fan in the house here with Kyle Marley. So look, man, you got to take that fan cap off for a second, because he's taking on the very dangerous Leon Rocky Edwards. But we know you're only going to beat Cerrone if you're a legit top 5 guy. So now the question is Leon a legit top 5 guy?
I am a big Cowboy Cerrone fan, and I do let that biasness get in my way. I pick him in every fight. But on the same side, I pick Leon Edwards in almost every one of his fights as well. I'm guessing the only fight I didn't pick him in his whole career was Usman. So I like both of these a lot, and I'm going to be using them both in DraftKings. So I'm going to be stacking this fight most likely in cash. I think overall you're going to get over 100 points between the two, no matter who wins. But I like them both in GPPs pretty equally. I could see Cowboy getting a win either with a knockout or a submission, and if he does, he almost always scores more than 100 points. But on the other end, Edwards has a good shot of knocking him out in the first round, which would be 100 points as well. Cerrone is the biggest name on the card, so all the casuals are going to put him in the lineup. I'm guessing he'll be one of the most popular guys there is. So that makes me actually lean towards Edwards more as my DraftKings play, to be honest. But the problem was he just doesn't put that pressure on guys like Cerrone. That's what Cerrone has a problem with, like the guys like Nate Diaz and stuff who are going to put pressure on him, throw punches and bunches, and that's just not Edwards. So he's just going to have to get that one punch KO most likely, and that makes me lean a little bit towards Cerrone at the cheaper price. So I guess my pick if I was making one lineup would be Cerrone. If I was making multiple lineups, I'd probably go with more Edwards. So if that makes sense, that's how I'm going with it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing Shaq and I talked about during our breakdown was how Leon has kind of changed his style after the Kamaru fight. You know, he came into the UFC, this British striker, and now he's become you know what I'm saying, the Brits' inaugural D1 wrestler. So it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches Cowboy Cerrone. But the co-main event, man, Ovent St. Preux taking on Tyson Pedro, and it's very tough for me, at least, to call both of their fights. You never know what you're going to get out of OSP, and I feel like Tyson Pedro isn't really proven. So which way are you leaning?
Yeah, I have interest in both of these guys again because they're right there in that mid-range. So, I see the winner, no matter who it is, scoring more than 10x of their salary. So, I do like both guys. I'm going to lean towards Pedro, though, just because I prefer this fight to go to the ground. And if it does, he'll be the one most likely winning it. But I do have interest in both guys. Pedro will be the pick.
So, Jessica Ai, she's making a return against Jessica Rose Clark. You already know my feelings on Jessica Ai. Well, you don't even listen to my feelings. Just look at her record. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with Rose Clark in this one. Ai is only going to look to stand up. She has no interest in the ground. So that makes me have no interest in her, really. If she's going to win, it's not going to be a high scoring. So I would rather just go with the ceiling and take Clark in this one. I think she's the favorite for a reason. She'll probably get it done. Overall, I'm not really excited about this fight, though.
Well, you know, I think she's a wrestler now because she took down Kalindra Faria, right?
So she's got a whole new game plan going on.
Exactly.
All right.
It's a new Jessica Ai now, man. You got to watch out, bro. But, yeah. So, Li Jingliang is taking on Daichi Abe. There's a massive experience difference here, but we know that chin of Li isn't as good as it once was, man, and someone's going to finally knock the guy out. It's just, is Daichi going to be that guy?
If he is, you want him in your lineup. That's what I'll say. Odds definitely say that he won't be that guy, though. And I do think Jing Liang is the better fighter. I really just like the pace that he brings to every fight as well, overall. So that makes me like Abe more as well, just because of the pace that Jing Liang is going to bring. He's going to put up a pace, and Abe's going to have to match it if he wants to have any chance of winning. And so if he does, he's going to probably score high. So that I do like about Abe, but I think it's a tough task. Jing Liang's going to be the pick. How he gets it done, I'm not exactly sure, but he always goes out there and puts on a show, so he can score pretty high no matter what he does.
Peter Yan's taking on Teruto Ishihara. I know you've never been high on Teruto Ishihara. I assume that trend continues here?
Yeah, I can't pick him here. His only shot really is a knockout, probably, so if you think he's going to get that knockout, then he's definitely going to outscore his salary. I just think that's the only shot he has, so I'd rather go with Peter Yan.
So two more before I let you go. Matt Schnell's taking on Naoki Inoue. Inoue, he's never knocked out shit in his life, but as you know, it doesn't take much to knock a guy like Matt Schnell out. Which way are you leaning?
Originally I was wanting to go with Schnell on this one, because I could see him putting up a tough fight, maybe keeping it on the ground. I mean, not on the ground, on the feet. And on the feet, I think he probably has the edge. But the problem is he won his last fight, and he only scored 49 points on DraftKings. So I'm not interested in that, even at his $7,300 price tag. So I think that's probably going to lead me to fading him. Not exactly sure yet, but as of now, that kind of switched me over to Inoue, and I'd rather just get this fight to the ground. If that happens, I think he likely gets a sub. So he's my pick.
And last but not least, Ulka Sasaki's taking on Janelle Lausa. I have a feeling if Sasaki wins this fight, it's going to be a submission. He's going to score a lot of points. But when we've seen him lose fights, most of the time he's gotten knocked out. So if Janelle Lausa gets this upset, I know that's going to be an 100-plus point score. So what's your take?
Yeah, that was only 7,200, so I don't hate that. If he does get a knockout, he's going to pay it off. I think, yeah, Sasaki just has more ways to win, so I like that about him. And he could get the sub early in the fight, so if he gets that first round sub, if he's getting the fight to the ground at all, I like that as well with the DraftKings points. But I'm just going to go with Sasaki because he has more ways to win, and I'm just not really too impressed with Lausa. I'm not impressed with really either one of them, but more impressed with Sasaki.
I said it was last but not least, but I was lying because Jake Matthews is taking on Shinsho Anzai. Jake's a minus 500 favorite. He just beat Li Jingliang. But if Shinsho has a path to victory, it is those takedowns. We know takedowns score a lot of points. You taking a little flyer on the dog here?
I think, man, I can't really get a judge of how owned Anzai is going to be because he is a wrestler. That's what we like on DraftKings, and people don't like seeing Jake Matthews at 9,400. So I think people might be taking a shot on Anzai and making that more popular than he should be. So that kind of makes me want to fade this fight. I would rather just not take either one of them. But I think Matthews is probably going to get it done. I think he'll be better everywhere. It's just going to be tough to pay off that $9,400 price tag. He'll likely need a finish to get it done. But he's my pick, and that isn't going out on a limb since he's such a big favorite.
Well, Kyle, that's why you are the DraftKings guy for half the battle. It's going down 4:30 a.m. UFC Singapore. They can follow you at Big Marley 3. Kyle, any message for them before we talk next week?
Yeah, man, I'm writing up my DraftKings articles. I got a full breakdown going up soon at MMAoddsbreaker.com. Hoping to get that out tonight. I'm going to break down every single fight. Then I'm going to break down from a DraftKings perspective. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. And then I'm going to give my pick for every single fight as well. I'm only charging $7.99, so it's worth the time, I think. It's less than the big tournament on DraftKings. And I put a lot of time into it. So go check that out. I think I'll help you out in the long run.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, bro. Take care.
And that's why Kyle Marley is the DraftKings guy for half the battle. Now, Shaq, we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So what is the fight to watch for UFC Singapore?
Rolando D versus Shane Young. I think Shane Young is going to present a lot of opportunities for Rolando with his forward movement, and the kid doesn't stop throwing punches. He's going to move forward, and, I think Rolando's got a nice, exciting Muay Thai style to make the crowd go ooh and ah with some of the power on those kicks. So that's my fight to watch. I think some blood will be shed.
Yeah, look, my fight to watch is Jessica Rose Clark versus Jessica Ai. I know Jessica Ai is a habitual loser and underperformer, but all her fights are pretty exciting, minus the Sarah McMahon fight where she just stared at her for 3 straight rounds. I think that when you get into a fight with Jessica Rose Clark has a way of making you fight exciting, and I think she will make Jessica Ai fight exciting when she makes her quit. So that is my fight to watch. Now, Shaq, who is your fighter to watch for UFC Singapore?
My fighter to watch is going to be Yan Xiaonan. I think Asia has a new star on their hands coming. So, I think with her style, I think if she gets this victory, that she can be a new star down there.
Yeah, definitely someone to look out for, someone we've been high on for a while. But for me, the fighter to watch is Leon Rocky Edwards, because this is going to let us know exactly where he stands in that welterweight division, because the only guys that go out there and beat Cowboy are legit top 10 guys. And if Leon wants his name in that conversation, not only does he have to beat Cowboy Cerrone, he has to smoke Cowboy Cerrone. And he says he's going to do just that. So I'll take his word for it, and he's my fighter to watch. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday morning, 4:30 a.m. Make sure you set that alarm clock, or just wake up and look in your bank account and
you can
see some
you can
more money.
enjoy sleep, or you can wake up to get that cake up. So it's up to you.
Exactly. So make sure you follow me at Best Fight Picks. Follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. Follow our Instagram at Best Fight Picks Official. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Hook up those 5-star reviews on iTunes. We really appreciate it, guys. And, we're going to be back next week for the next card, and going to keep killing it as always. Go to bestfightpicks.com, go to maxbetseason.com, sign up today. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.